What's up, y'all? It's Jay Danae here, and welcome back to my channel. First and foremost, if you are new here, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. I would love to bring you into the fold. It's really great over here. My people love it over here. So go ahead and subscribe. If you want to take a look around and see what you like, go ahead and like some stuff, share some stuff. Then also follow me at JDanae1 on Instagram. I'll put my name right here. I would love to connect with you all. I would love to connect with my newcomers. So yeah, get on that. Also, I know I look a bit rough, but today is day one of the 75-day challenge. And honestly, I don't care that much about looking like, you know, Miss Glam Glam for the next 75 days. I mean, I'm gonna be cute sometimes, but my focus is somewhere else. I'm trying to build my discipline for real. So if you're interested in being part of the challenge, I'll put the link to the website in the description of this video. I would love to have some accountability and, just talk about the challenges, the wins, and all of that. And what else? Oh, I know you noticed that there's a change in my background. I'm in my father's house. Honey, it's too hot to be recording in my car today, and my phone likes to overheat sometimes. So today will be right here in the comfort of my father's home, which will allow me to, record this comfortably. I'm tired of sweating in my videos. So yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. So boom. Today's video is about what you all voted on. So I put a video out yesterday. I invited people to vote on what today's topic can be about, and most people chose my life in the UK. So I don't want to spend like an hour on here talking about my experience in the UK. If there are any other things that people will want to know about that experience, feel free to put it in the comments. I'm just gonna maybe in about 20-25 minutes talk about the big things, the things that I really enjoyed, and the challenges. Okay? All right. So when I was about maybe 15, 16, I talked to God about living in the UK for a year. People would ask me, oh, what do you want to do after high school? And then I would say, I want to get an associate's degree, maybe a bachelor's degree. And then I want to move to the UK for a year. I don't know where that came from. I don't even know where the desire to want to live in England came from. I didn't know much about life in the UK outside of things being posh or whatever. But the desire fell upon me, and so I will always keep that in the back of my mind. Over time, though, with school and just lifing, that desire it wasn't really at the forefront of my mind for real. Like, I forgot all about it. But then in college, graduation time came around. I was just like, what am I going to do after graduation? And I was offered the opportunity to get a master's degree at the school I was already at. But then God reminded me of what we talked about when I was about 15 or 16. And so I declined on that offer, and I chose to apply to a school in Birmingham, England. That was really scary because their process for international students is really, really long and difficult. I had to really prepare for what that would cost. And I was afraid that, it was going to be too much, but we still kept pushing. Me and my mother and a couple of other family members still kept, having faith that that's what God wanted for me. So my grandma was the main person who helped to fund me being able to enroll in Birmingham City University. It's Birmingham, but I'm gonna keep saying Birmingham City University. And I would say the Saturday before Welcome Week, I received a notification that my visa had gotten approved. So then my grandma booked me a flight, and my first time in the UK was the day I moved there. So I got to the UK on a Monday morning, because I left Sunday. I got there on a Monday morning. I knew nothing about anything. My layover was in Ireland, and then I made it to Birmingham on at like 10 a.m. And then when I got there, of course, jet lag, so I don't even know what's going on around me. I had no clue how to do anything in that airport, and it seemed like nobody else knew what I was supposed to do either, because I kept going to different people asking, oh, where do I go? And finally, by accident, I got on the right bus, made it to my student apartment, and then I met my roommates, and they helped me figure out how to, buy like my necessities. After that, I was overwhelmed with anxiety. Like, it's crazy how, you can work so hard to finally get to that open door you've been praying about. And then when you get to the open door and you get in, it's like, okay, that challenge is over and here's a totally new challenge. Like, that's how it was for me. Like, I worked so hard to finally get to England. And then when I was finally there, it was like, oh my God, I had no idea that I needed to be preparing for this. Like, I knew about the autonomy, but like building community, getting around the UK, knowing how to communicate with people, like all of that was definitely foreign to me. Like, I had no idea that there was a certain way you should, approach people and resolve issues or not resolve issues. Like, the way they talked to each other and confronted each other was way different from how we do that in Chicago. We could be a little aggressive when we talk to each other. Man, what? Like, no, I ain't like when you know what I'm saying? But in the UK is, I wish you wouldn't have done this. It would have been better had you not done this. I would suggest that, like, even if it was like a heavy or a major issue, like there was this suggestive way of talking, like very passive aggressive. And so imagine how many tough situations I ran into trying to have those conversations with me being assertive and how I was received. Like, I had a couple of run-ins. But what blessed me almost immediately was going to a church service where the people there knew about my pastor here in Chicago. Somebody who I used to be friends with sent me a message on Instagram and was like, oh, you need to go to this event. And I'm like, ugh, like, do I really feel like putting myself out there? Like, am I gonna be able to make it back home? Like, my phone was off. Like, my phone was off for real, so I couldn't even use my maps. Like, I had to use Wi-Fi in my dorm to figure out, okay, screenshot this, screenshot that. Remember this so that you'll know how to get to this church and back home. And so, that was intimidating to be in a different country trying to get around with a phone that was off. So, I was like, okay, God, like, just help me out because I don't want to get lost. So I ended up, pulling up the directions, and I ended up getting on the right bus, and the bus that I got on took me to directly to the church. Like, it was like right maybe around the corner. And so I got to the church, walked in, and everybody was welcoming. Like, everybody was just like, oh my God, hi, welcome, da da da, all these beautiful accents, beautiful Black people, because everybody was of African descent. And, every time I would talk, everybody be like, oh my God, like, you're not from here. Where are you from? And I'm like, oh, from Chicago, da da da. And after so many questions, people finally realized, like, oh, you go to the church that so-and-so leads. We love him here. And it seemed like because they loved him, they also loved me immediately. So I immediately was able to build rapport with a bunch of people who I had never met. Like, they told me they were almost like an extended congregation. And they felt like the church in Chicago was also their church. And so, they, without saying it, was telling me like, we can be your home away from home, your church away from church. So from that point on, I started to slowly but surely become a member of that church. And that, I feel, was my saving grace. Because I almost feel like, had I not encountered that ministry the moment I got to the UK, I would have fell into some other stuff. And I'm not even sure what the other stuff would have been. I ain't gonna say like hard drugs and like gangbanging, but like probably like lust. Like I probably would have been out here doing stupid stuff or whatever, or having way more, confrontations, because that church helped me to remain grounded. It helped me to build my spiritual maturity. Like I became more disciplined. Like devotion, intercession, and worship were like the main priorities in my life. Like I had to make sure that I was face to face with God every single day. And I think that saved a lot of people from getting smacked. You know what I'm saying? Just being honest. So yeah, my experience with that ministry was fantastic. I joined the worship team. I led worship for the first time, and I wasn't afraid. Like I didn't allow that opportunity to intimidate me. So I was very bold in me stepping into ministry, what I felt like my ministry call was. I was confirmed as a prophet. Like the apostle there, his name is Apostle Emmanuel. He confirmed me as a prophet, and he offered himself as someone who could like train me and help me to mature in my call so that I won't be out here, irresponsible. They taught me how to utilize the word of God in my ministry. Like it wasn't about emotions, which I already knew, but I just felt like that experience helped to expound upon what I had started to learn at the church I'm at right now, but was at in 2018. Like I had started to scratch the surface there, but in England, like these people were building upon my knowledge, and they were helping to sharpen me in my skills and my gifts and all of that. And they pushed me to the forefront, and I didn't fight it. I also built like actual friendships, like genuine friendships with people who actually liked me. Like up until that point, my experience of having friendships at church, like church relationships were always drama filled. Like I met so many toxic individuals at my church in Chicago, and it's almost like these people would keep me around, but they didn't really like me. Like it was a lot of nice, nasty individuals at my church in Chicago. And not even trying to like Chicago and England, like England better or whatever, but my experience in relationships was difficult. Like I had PTSD. I had literal PTSD. And so I wasn't very open originally to even have friendships in England in general, not at church, school, wherever. But after having, a conversation with my mentor at that point and, talking to God, like I realized, man, you need to make this into a home. And a big part of home is community, support, love. Like, and so, after putting myself out there a bit more and just hanging out with certain people, getting to know certain people, like I started to build friendships. Like I built an actual support system in the UK with people from Zimbabwe, people from Jamaica, people from St. Kitts, people from Kenya, Nigeria. Like these were my people, you know what I'm saying? And I literally enjoyed myself with them. Like I felt like they were like we were friends for years. Like a couple of them would invite me to go to, dinner, to the mall, just kicking it around. What do they call it? City Center, going to Manchester, going to just experiencing different and newer things. Like I was so used to game nights, getting drunk. I was so used to like getting drunk, having game nights every weekend. But all of that shifted to actually getting out of the house and going to explore. Barely even drinking. Like, I actually stopped drinking for almost 6 months while I was in the UK. Cause I was just like, I don't need a crutch. So I swore off drinking and I also swore off dating. So I wanted to put my whole focus into making this a home, making sure that me and God are tight so that I won't be out here making terrible fleshly decisions, and passing my classes. Passing my classes. So, the church part, that became simpler because friendship. I had something to look forward to, like worship, prayer, a good word, but also people who I could trust around me. Like, that church was the bomb. Like, I had a blast, for real. Then, school. So, like I said, I went to Birmingham City University. And I don't think I fully had an idea of what, number one, getting a master's degree would look like, but number two, what that study life should look like. Up until my master's degree program, I had studied broadcasting and journalism, about, things that focused on the talent and the display of media, getting a message across, whether you are the talent or if you're the person behind the scenes, production, a writer, So I was learning how to, I think at that point, my focus was eventually having a talk show, whether it's on the radio or on TV, and also possibly being a news director. So my mind was on some form of entertainment. This degree was global media management. So as you can imagine, that's completely different from media as entertainment. It was about the media business. Church wasn't a culture shock for me. Media business was a culture shock for me. I went up in there like, like constantly pushing my glasses up, like, what are you saying? Like, everything, every class I had, I felt like I was learning German or learning Hebrew. Like, I could not understand what these people were talking about. Global strategy development, what? Project management, what? Like I thought I was gonna only focus on maybe marketing and advertising, but there is a more complex level beyond marketing. A marketing team or an advertising team has to use information that is found through researching and understanding data, understanding your audience, and all these great things. The business part of it. The business part of it. And so I was like, man, this is way more than what I bargained for, but I had to dig deep. I had to dig deep because there was no way I was going to be out in another country failing classes. How embarrassing would that be? I already had these assumptions that people made about me, me being from the hood in Chicago. So I'm like, y'all not about to embarrass me. Y'all not finna look down on me. And most importantly, I didn't want to disappoint myself. And so at school, I decided to partner with people who I knew would help to bring the best out of me. I befriended a girl named Kate, who's from Ukraine. I befriended a girl named Dora from China. And I befriended another girl from Portugal named Maria. We were the dream team. We were the dream team. From projects to notes, because just like in America, the books were ridiculously expensive. And so my people would print off pages from their books and allow me to have the pages or just notes in general. And so shout out to Kate, Dora, and Maria, because had it not been for y'all, I'm quite convinced that I'll probably still be in that program. I'll still be a student at Birmingham City University, baby. How many years later? 6 years later, I'll still be a student because, baby, business may come easy to, I don't know. But for me, it was a major culture shock. And so I had to be a real student of a very intimidating subject. But I made it. I passed. I always passed my classes. I always got good marks on my papers. I developed really good relationships with my professors. All my professors were Black. My favorite professor, her name was Yemisi, and she had her own news station, a news organization in Nigeria. All women, women-led organization. So it was nice to have a good representation of what I wanted to work toward. I realized even then what I wanted for myself. It's like the more I humbled myself at that school, the more I started to learn about all the possibilities, all the things I could do. Like, I didn't need to just have a talk show. I could also have a network. I could also have a media organization. I could broaden my horizons too, you know? So yeah, that experience was everything I needed it to be. I don't think it should have been easy. Also, guys, thankfully, I wasn't interested in anybody at that school. I actually didn't like the students at that school. No shade, but they were very obnoxious and loud. Like at CMU, where I went for my undergrad, the library was quiet. The expectation was for the library to be quiet. The university center, like, there were spaces where students were social, but there were a lot of spaces where students could go and get work done. In the lobby of certain dorms, like certain places where students spent their time, you could still get work done in a lobby. It just was what it was. Like, even though kids partied down at my school at CMU, they still respected when people were trying to get work done, and they would try to, accommodate you. In Birmingham, if I'm sitting there trying to get a 25-page paper due, you think those people next to me gonna care and stop, screaming from the mountaintops and hollering about the party or playing music out loud and doing handstands? No. And that was a regular thing, to just be loud all day and do whatever you want to do, regardless of what somebody else was doing. I think maybe that was just a result of people being so passive aggressive, where it's like people could get away with doing certain things, saying certain things, because you're not going to say anything back to me. You're not going to aggressively or assertively say how you feel about what I'm doing. So, yeah, they were rude, and I had to let them know. I did all the time. But then after a while, I realized that being there obviously wasn't the best choice for me. Like, doing work in the library at the school where you should typically be able to do your work, doing work at the school wasn't productive. And so I often would take the laptop I borrowed, and go elsewhere, because, But yeah, like I said, I didn't really like the students for real. So any dude that I was even the least bit interested in, which it wasn't many, it was only 2. They were at my church. And then there was this one guy who was my barber for a day, who made things very, very awkward. He asked me out on a date, even though I'm very, very sure he had a wife. I declined and never let him cut my hair again. So, yeah, I did not date at all. I didn't even really flirt. I wasn't even really looking, which was beautiful. Let's see. What else? Oh, and the food. I know y'all probably hear about this. The homegrown food in the UK wasn't my favorite. Oddly enough, I lived above 3 restaurants. I lived above Chicago Burger. which was weird. You know, I'm from Chicago. So I lived above Chicago Burger. I lived above a coffee lounge and a Subway. I went to Chicago Burger one time to get the fish and chips. No, I went twice. Fish and chips. I did not like the fish and chips. They weren't seasoned. Nothing was seasoned. They also didn't have the type of hot sauce I like. So I could, lather up my food. So I never got fish and chips in the UK again, ever. Then I went back to Chicago Burger for the burger. The burger was good. The fries were not. Do y'all like steak fries? All they have mainly, for real, steak fries are more popular than like skinny fries or seasoned fries, curly fries, stuff like that. So I stopped going there. Then at the coffee shop, they had like, they kind of look like beef patties. They weren't good though there, but the drinks were good at the coffee shop. And how could you go wrong with Subway? However, the McDonald's was better. The Burger King was better. There was no Wendy's where I stayed. The grocery shops were very, very cheap. And so I cooked way more than I ate out. Like, I cooked every other day, it seemed like. And then when I felt rich, I would order me something through Uber Eats. Or I would walk to this spot called Dixie's. Y'all know about Nando's. Nando's started, I believe, in the UK. But they had a ghetto Nando's. It wasn't called Nando's, it was called Dixie's. And their chicken was better than Nando's chicken. So I would go there a lot to get chicken, like strips, and their shoestring fries. I also went to this spot that had, what they have? I can't pronounce it, but they had like some really good Greek food. I also experienced cooked sushi for the first time there. I went to this mall called the Bull Ring. Yeah, I think it's called the Bull Ring. And they had like this floor that had like restaurants. It was like this big circle where it was just restaurants all over the place. And I went to a rotary sushi spot and had sushi for the first, well, not for the first time, but it was the first time I actually liked it. I also went to this spot called the Old Something Mall, Old Western Arcade. I think it was Old Western Arcade. But either way, whatever it's called, it had really good sushi there. Expensive, but really good sushi there. And macaroons. I'm gonna try to find a clip of me giving a review of the macaroons there. They put me on their Instagram page. But yeah, I tried a lot of new things. Like, I went to Manchester. I tried the Fridays there, and it was really good. I spent my 24th birthday in Berlin, Germany. I had a traditional German breakfast. It was so much food. I think it was traditional German. I don't want to say that. It was good. I think it was traditional though, but I'm going to put like a clip of my food here. I tried this nice steak restaurant where we ate outside. Like we could see all the beautiful structures. In Berlin, we even went to this spot called, it might have been called Miami Beach. It might have been called Miami Beach. Something like that. But it had pretty good drinks there. We met a lot of like Jamaican people who we're still connected to now who lived in Berlin. And I also had like a group of friends that I met at this conference in London. And they showed me around in Berlin. Like, it was just like every experience I had, I always left with something. whether it was memories or like actual connections, souvenirs, a new love for new food. Like, man, man, I literally had a blast. I literally had a blast. Like, I had so much fun. Um, I went to a safari for the first time. Like, you know, when you're in a car and you got the animals walking around, like, that was great. Like, I went to a fair. I also got the chance to visit London because I lived, Birmingham was like maybe an hour and a half away from London. But yeah, I took a bus to London for a conference. I also took a bus there to show my mom around. And we spent time at a cafe. We went to Shake Shack there. That was my first time having Shake Shack, and it was better than the one in America. But yeah, like, I had so much fun, man. I had a couple of run-ins here and there with like roommates and people outside of my apartment, but like overall, my experience was very, very positive. And I wish it would have lasted longer. You know, I was only there for a year. My visa only lasts for a year. And going back to study would have been more expensive had I done it again because things have changed drastically. And so, you know, I don't think the experience will be the same this time, but I don't think it will be negative either, like if I were to go again. But honestly, even with everything being as great as it was, I wouldn't live there again. I wouldn't live there again. It's just not my thing. Like, if I were to go back, I would go for like 2 months, 3 months, but I wouldn't live there for no whole year. No. But my desire, honestly, is to have like maybe contract partnerships there where I help businesses in England or Berlin, honestly, wherever, and where I help companies to build their brand, to expand their reach using media. Like, that would be a dream job of mine, so that I would be able to be there for an extended period of time, 3 to 6 months or whatever, and then come on back to America. For real. So overall, man, like, studying abroad, living abroad for a year, I feel like everybody should explore that. Everybody should see what kind of opportunities there are, because you never know what you could leave that opportunity with. You never know what type of relationships you could build, what type of connections you can build, how you could grow. Like, oh, I can say that I've matured so much mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I was probably the most fit ever there because I walked everywhere. I went to the gym every single day. And the food there is honestly more healthy than the food is here. My fashion sense like has changed like all the way. You know, I had a 90s kind of thing going on. Well, I still do. I love kind of incorporating the 90s into my fashion now. But I was 90s down. Like, everything was thrift store, old clothes, my mama old jackets, like my grandma old jackets and stuff like that, which again I will still wear now. But I was able to like combine my love for thrifted clothes with my love for, you know, different types of patterns and fabrics and stuff like that. Because, you know, people in the UK love plaid, they love turtlenecks, they love trench coats, they love all types of stuff. And so I started to like fuse my love for these different types of styles and create a whole new style. Now that I'm, you know, in my late 20s, like, my style is still evolving. I still can see the influence that the UK has on like the style that I have now. So I don't think that I would do anything differently at all. Like, from the people who came to visit me, well, I would invite more people out. Yeah, but I feel like the only thing I would do differently, honestly, for real, was travel to countries, like other countries, a bit more. Because flying out of England is very cheap. So, like, going to Germany that time was cheap. I could have gone to Paris. I could have gone to Italy, you know. So that's the main thing I would do differently, and, like, invite other people, like, from America. Like, I would, you know, try to bring my people out a bit more. But outside of that, I would have done the same thing. I wouldn't change anything. Like, I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And I hope, well, I know that being able to travel and work is coming very soon for me. I want to say that now. Just mark my words, y'all. I don't know what today is. I think today is the 16th. So mark my words. That time is coming very soon. But I think my desire to even step into that kind of life came from what I experienced in 2018 and 2019. So, yeah, I think I pretty much covered like some major things from my experience in the UK. But, you know, if there's anything else you want me to expound on, please let me know. Like, I can drop more videos throughout the week about certain topics and certain subjects. So that way I won't, like, leave anything behind. Because I'm sure there are some things I haven't noted. So, until then, I love y'all. I hope y'all will consider experiencing other countries for 6 months to a year. So you can say you did it, you know. And yeah, pray for me as I pray for y'all. Bye.